Welcome to Thursday Night Knives. I'm Bob DeMarco. Coming up, what's on your mind tonight? It's Open Mic Night. Open Mic Night, where you just get to talk about whatever you want to, because that's how we roll every once in a while here. I don't come up with a clever topic to discuss, and it's just kind of like, what's going on with you? Because I got a lot going on here. I'm going to readjust, Jim, and then I promise I ain't going to touch it. Make a lot of noise with this mic stand. I also want to show you a new A.G. Russell. That's cool. And a Tesseract. This company called Tesseract, designed in Kansas City, engineered in Kansas City, which I think means basically parts from China designed in Kansas City by a consortium of designers. It's really awesome. I like it. I'm going to show that off. And yeah, we're just gonna hang. We're gonna talk about some knives. We got a pocket check coming up. I know Dave is now affected by my Microtech Jag that I have going on here. Whole bunch of Microtechs recently. Humble Dog Walker, good to see you. Jim and Bob, he says, with a cheers. I'm gonna cheers you with some black coffee. Pat D's Nuts, nice to have you here, sir. Good evening, Bob. Jim and Junkies on my mind. What's the word on No Wiggle Microtech out the front? And did hear something about a Nova 2 prototype. Thanks. Yes, there is a Nova 2 prototype in the works. I have pictures on my phone of the blade with that blue stuff on it, beautifully hollow ground out. It looks really nice. It was done on an 8-inch contact wheel. Matt thinks he's going to have to go 14 just so it's not too thin behind the edge and too thin at the tip. It's looking sweet. And then he's also working on, here's a little preview, a small version of the Ruffian to fit about in the footprint of the Nova 1. It's slightly smaller. It looks beautiful. He's been showing me as he's been making it. It was kind of a brainstorm. He's like, why don't I make a small Ruffian? And it's looking awesome. Hopefully he makes one for me and sends it to me. Not that I expect one for free. That's not how we operate. But I'd love to have one and show it off. Fernando Salome, good to have you here, sir. Hello, Knife Junkies, Bob, Jim, Jim Bob, actually, because there's no so it's Jim Bob. I like it. Jim, you and I are one. I like that. Let the gathering begin. Love you all. We love you too, Fernando. Cheers to you. Have a nice day. Good to see you here, sir. Greetings, Junkalo Nation. On my mind, finding a place where I can learn how to make my own blade. Oh, the experience would help me appreciate the skill and effort put into our hobby. I gotta say, sir, that seems like a great idea. Just having met you at Blade Show, and watching your channel and kind of conversing with you here, I think you should be making Bowies. I would definitely buy a Bowie knife from you. It seems like you should probably be able to find something where you are. If I know where you live, which I think I do, not where you live, but in the general vicinity. But yeah, I think you should. We should speak further about that. Ground Fog, good to remember. YouTube University has taught a number of people we've spoken to here, accomplished knife makers. Ground Fog, it's good to have you here, sir. He's saying hello, and we're saying Nick. We're saying hello back to him. And Nick Martino, good to have you here. First like, good man, good to have you here. And I've been seeing you going for some contests lately. Hope you win them all. This old sword, good to have you here, Dave. Evening, Bob, and fellow knife junkies, staying sharp. Yes, indeed. Here, this is in honor of you. This is the Microtech I traded Dave for, and now he just got a clip point elite manual. Looks so beautiful in that gray green. I can't tell what that is. Is that gray or green? Looks awesome. I think I sent Dave down a little Microtech path, so I can't wait to see where that brings him. Does anyone have a Hera, a full-size Hera? Suddenly, I'm totally interested in a Hera. It's infectious. Never Enough Knives, 007. Good to have you here, sir. Is Thursday Night Knives the junkie equivalent of Festivus? Festivus for the rest of us. It will be here shortly because we are careening up to 500 episodes, not including Thursday Night Knives, but in the Wednesday show and the Sunday interview show, coming up to 500. So yeah, that'll be a serious Festivus. We're going to get out the poll and everything. It'll be awesome. Will B, how's it going, Will? Hey, Bob, Jim, Dave, Nick, and fellow junkies. Will, it's good to have you here, sir. I have it. I got someone just brought up the Nova 2, and I think Will is might be interested in the Nova 2. It is looking hot. I can't wait. We are going for something. I'm still not sure about the handle material. I mean, it sounds really good, but I have to have it. I have to see it in person. Who knows? We might take a radical turn elsewhere. But for now, I'm fascinated with what I think it's going to look like. There you go. Blade Ogre, good to have you here, Blade Ogre. Hello, all, he says. Hello to you, sir. Sipping some of that fine French roast. Robert Douglas, good to have you here, Robert. Nothing. Yeah, pretty much me either. That just means we're zen, man. That just means we're ready to take on whatever comes our way because we're free of mind. Robert Douglas says, nothing. Hi, Bob. Just mellow. Hit the like, fellows. Good to have you here, Robert. As always, sir. Will be the Tesseract. Tell us more. All right. You know what? Why not? Let's jump. Well, I got to wait till at least after the pocket check. But Tesseract is interesting because it's a sheep's foot. It's cool. And it's based on a shape I've heard of, but I thought Tesseract, that surely is some sort of a beast, some sort of cryptid is the Tesseract. It's actually a geometrical shape in like 4 dimensions or something. 5-Door, good to have you here, 5-Door. Greetings, Bob, Jim, and junkies. 5-Door, I dig your daily carry pictures on Instagram. And what did you have? You had something that was very appealing to me. Sabenza and a GEC or something. Anyway, nicely done, sir. Daniel Huff, good to have you, Daniel Huff. A big jogga. Howdy to Jim, Bob, and fellow junkies. A big old jogga. Howdy to Jim, Bob, and fellow junkies. Jogga like Jogga County. I'm not sure what that means. Craig Vincent, good to have you here, Craig. I just saw as I was leaving work, you emailed me quite a nice offer. I started to write you back and I had to leave, but I will be getting back to you quite shortly. I would be very interested. Thank you very much. That is actually something I have longed for. Maybe that's a little too much. I long for the Black Rhino, but the Twistmaster I have always been intrigued with. So I would love to orchestrate a trade. Indeed. He says, evening, Bob and J-Heads. Ooh, J-Heads. Like that. This is the Opinel I used to keep at work. It's stainless steel. And I used to keep this one at work. It used to be my dinner at work when we have to work late. Knife, but I have so many other knives there, and I have one that everyone knows is right under the desk. It's taped under the desk, and it's a kitchen knife, 4.5-inch kitchen knife with a little kitchen knife sheath, and it's just taped under there. People know if they have to cut something, they can get it from there. But for me, that's like if someone sneaks up at me at my desk, of course. Don't we all have that? Thomas Farkas. Nice to have you here, Thomas. Hey, Bob. Love the show. Well, thank you, sir. It's good to have you here, man. Thanks for saying hi. Dion Page, tell me more. We're gonna get to a pocket check. I'm definitely gonna want to know what you were carrying today for sure. Dion Page, always a pleasure, sir. Hello, King Junkie, Jim, and junkies worldwide. I like the way that sounds. Worldwide, and it's true. We have a number of people in Australia. I just sent something to Austria. Martin, if you're watching, I'm so sorry. It took me so very long. Let us only split those charges. But it is on the way as of today. But that's going, far afield as well. So we have people from all around the world. You are right. Good to have you here. Talon 2 and a Spike. Can't remember if it was a Tonto, though. Derek W., good to have you here, Derek. Hey, Bob, I bought my first custom after watching this show. Derek, what is it? Don't leave me on tenterhooks, man. What is it? I'm very happy to hear that. Sorry for the all caps. Screaming at me. but scream at me what the custom knife is that you got. Is it a folder? Is it a fixed blade? I'm assuming it's probably a fixed blade because I only have two. I am very, very fortunate and grateful to have two very nice custom folding knives. And I'm not sure. Do you consider the American this? I'll call this custom, even though I didn't order it custom. This was handmade by Michael Martin over at American Blade Works. So, yeah, I'm going to call this custom. Will be. I still want the full size Ruffian with the thumb ramp. The small size still has the thumb ramp. It looks awesome. But yeah, get the full size. I highly recommend it. The only time I don't carry this is in the dead of summer. You know, with light shorts on, this is too much. But pretty much the rest of the year, the way I dress with jeans, you know, I wear jeans a lot, jeans and khakis. Also, I'm looking for adventure khakis. Can anyone tell me where I can get some khaki pants that are Robert? Sorry, I gotta say this. Does anyone know of good khaki pants that are like canvasy, like kind of like what do you call it, Carhartts, but are dressy, you know, where you can like put a blazer on, but have that sort of rugged material? I don't know, man. It's like everything is peg leg or, you know, tapered and makes you look like like you're trying to look young, and I'm not trying to look young, obviously. Robert says, "Hey Bob, forgot the name of the finish. What's the name of the bulk mirror-like fish on the the black finish? Help me out, guys. On the Cold Steel Outlaw. Cold Steel Outlaw. What is the Outlaw? The black mirror-like finish on the Outlaw. It's probably DLC, right? Everyone, diamond like coating. Is that what it is? Diamond like. This old sword, SOCOM, is clear natural and apocalyptic blade. It was something about it. So that's like a raw aluminum. Beautiful knife, sir. Obviously, I'm in a very receptive state. I mean, I would say that at any period of time, but right now, I look at that, I was like, oh, that is nice. Something about it. Is it green? Is it black? Is it gray? What is it? Really nice. LCV Blade Edge, Blades Edge. Good to have you. What's up? Just talking knives, man. It's really good to have you. Blades Edge. Thomas Farkas says, I own 16 Microtechs and counting. Best knife company, in my opinion. That I love it. Okay, so Thomas, check this out. I'm going to see my brother shortly, and he is a appreciator of the pews and you know, he's got a few, and he has an appreciation for all things nicely done. I get him knives. He has a nice collection of knives. I am excited to get him excited about Microtechs because I know my brother well, and if he gets excited about Microtechs, he will have a nice little collection, lickety split. Will B says, I have the Nova 1 on the belt today. Yes. That is that puts wind in my sails, sir. Good to have you. Good to know that you had it on your belt, and I hope it served you well. Hopefully you did something with it. And if not, it just gave you peace of mind, and that's what I like. Never Enough Knives 007. Maybe we should air knife grievances. Of course, man. We're all here for you. What's your knife grievance? I want to know, please. That should be the topic, maybe. Though I don't want to get into a bitch session. I shouldn't say that. We don't need any more of that tonight. Let's say it like that. So let's just, if we can air grievances here about knives, let's do that. George says, Microtech new Glassbreaker demo video came out yesterday. Fun watch. I couldn't agree more. I had a long render, so to speak, at work where I do editing stuff, and you got to render stuff sometimes. And I watched that great video. I love that guy, X-Ring, former cop or former sheriff's deputy, and has been doing Microtech videos for years, abuse videos. He's the guy who got me excited about serrations a few weeks back. Robert Douglas says, I have an Open L12 always. I love the 12. That is my steak knife. I sculpted the handle and I dyed the handle. That's upstairs. And I patinaed the blade just through meat. I think red meat, hot red meat makes the nicest patina. Greg Maroney, good to have you here. Chakabra. Good to have you here, Greg. LCV says, I love training with my knives in any fashion. What do you mean by that? You mean like you like live blade training? Or what do you mean in any fashion? I'm curious. Or are you constantly cutting stuff? I'm thinking like with this, when you get a new knife, a lot of people like to test them. I don't generally tend to do that, but when I get a knife from a brand I haven't had yet, I'm kind of moved to do that. Is that the kind of thing you're talking? Broke Arizona Knives. Hey y'all. Good to have you here back. Good to have you back. Daniel Huff says, try Duluth Trading Company for khaki pants. Okay. I love Duluth Trading Company for jackets. My winter jacket for years has been their, it's like longshoreman jacket. It's an awesome jacket. I've gotten their pants before. I got long legs and they tend to have low crotches, but I got to try them again. It's been a while, and who knows how. I think I'm in better shape than I was when I got them first. Dave, so thank you for because their fire hose canvas is awesome. So thanks for the tip. Dave says, get some of the off-grid surplus Trailblazer pants. Off-grid. Oh, no, wait. I'm sorry. Get some off the grid surplus Trailblazer pants in khaki. Okay. Off the grid. All right. I'll take that. Off-grid surplus Trailblazer pants. All right, got it. Craig Vincent, Bob, if you switch the khaki cargo pants, your daily carry will go up 14 knives. Yeah, I like a cleaner silhouette, I got to say. I do like when I travel or on just some random days, I have some 511 pants that have cargo pockets, but they hide nicely. They don't pop out. I used the Nova 2. What? You used the Nova 2? You haven't even gotten the Nova 2 yet. Jeremy Nudra says, hello, everyone. Jeremy, good to have you here, man. Derek W. Oh, my God. What are you doing, Derek? I should say my second custom as I made my first, but my first episode was Jed Hornbeak. I have a beautiful CCK. Thanks for bringing it into my life. It is my pleasure, Derek. So I will salute you for that awesome and generous super chat with my own Jed Hornbeak. Let me put this away, and I will show you under the knife cam because this thing deserves a close-up. All right, so this is my Jed Hornbeak knife, and I'd love to have a bunch of them, I gotta say. I'm not sure what your experience has been, Derek, but this in my hand feels almost better to have this in my hand than nothing at all in my hand. It just feels so good. The contouring of this G10 is so perfect, but if you look at it from this aspect, you can also see it's wasp waisted here. So there's plenty of space for really sinking the hand in there. You've got these here in case you do that sideways, I don't know, shovel thrust or whatever you want to call it. That's what I call it. I don't know why. But it's got a Scandi ground swedge. So it's really sharp here, but it's zero ground. And then hollow ground here. And that CCK that you got, that is a one of the Choir Boys cutlery knives. Those things are so cool. I mean, you're going to be able to chop and use those forever. That'll be like the ultimate camp knife. You could take that, hand it down forever. This I will hand down to one of my girls, and they will know how to use it. To you, Derek W., I thank you, sir. Here's to you. That's awesome. Thank you, sir. So Hollywood Tactical, it's nice to have you here. A tesseract is a three-dimensional object representative of a mathematical formula and is an impossible shape, like a manifold, another three-dimensional shape. Okay, let me show you then. Let's do this pre-pocket check. I'm going to show you the Tesseract knife, but I'm going to start with their logo. Let's see if I can focus on that logo. All right, there it is. It's coming into focus there. That's their logo, and it's pretty cool. Pretty cool logo. All right, so let me show you this knife. This is called Tesseract. You can see it's got black G10. It's got orange G10 liners, titanium liners there. The liner lock. It's got great. Oh my God! It's got really, really good action. It's got a beautiful, full, nearly full height. I guess that's a saber grind. It's a flat grind, very thin, wickedly sharp. That's S35 VN. Very, very sharp. Nice build. Um, Titanium sculpted clip. Like I said, incredible action. It's got that window in the blade, flipper. It's got it does not have that double clutch that Metal Complex talks about, where you have that stuttering motion right here, where it's kind of finding its way onto the tang over the detent ball. This is perfect. It's got Kaiser like action. I wonder if Kaiser actually made this. Nice run of jimping that goes all the way up to the full extension of my thumb. So if you're really using this to, or even your forefinger, excuse me, forefinger, to do these kind of pull cuts and utility cuts, you have a very generous uh, amount of jimping there going all the way up. Really, really nice knife. My one thing, I would hollow this out a little, or lighten up, remove some of the, skeletonize the liners, if you will, to lighten it up a touch. But it is definitely not a deal breaker for me. I've really enjoyed this knife so far. I've had it a couple of days, and I'm going to do a close-up video and some other videos on it. Tesseract NF1, really good knife so far. This is the knife I was saying before. I feel moved to actually not just say it's a great knife, because all indications are it is, but I have not used it yet. I've cut a couple of things, but anything would perform well for the amount I've used it for. So I'm actually going to do some actual testing with rope and cardboard, and just some random stuff I'll cut and see how it does. And I'll use paper as my tester in the beginning, and then at the end, it'll be like every other little cut test you've ever seen, just not as good, because I'm not used to doing it. But I don't want to just say this is an awesome knife because all indications are it's an awesome knife. I want to use it and know that it is good. But so far, all indications point to it's pretty awesome. Tesseract. All right. That said, we're doing it in reverse order tonight. Let's get to a pocket check. In my front right pocket today, I had my Strider SMF, sort of in honor of Carter of Edged Mindset. We were talking about Strider, among other things. It was so cool to talk to him. I've been watching his videos since he was Juju 1313 years ago. Really good taste in knives, and a smart dude, and good at talking about knives. And so it was really nice to speak with him. But he recently has been going through a Strider thing, like I've been going through a Microtech thing. And it inspired me to pull this out. And this thing is really awesome. I bought this one from Zelric 42, Terrell Todd of the Todd brothers, who is no longer Zelric 42 making knife videos. He's just part of the Todd brothers designing cool knives out there. So, but I got this from him. It has an incredible edge on it. It's hollow ground. It's the big one. The SMF is the big one. In pictures, you can tell an SMF because it has 3 body screws across the top, whereas an SNG only has 2. same shape, same proportions, just a little bit smaller. By what percentage, I don't know. This surprisingly is, I've always thought of this as a sharpened pry bar. It really isn't. It's quite nicely hollow ground, and today it performed well as a food knife in a couple of different ways, on meat and on bread, both very, very fresh and quite stale. So, oh, and also baby broccoli, broccolini, good food knife. Who would have thought? All right, in a little slip in my pocket, I had this. This is the Case Knives medium Stockman, and this one is like a real Stockman because not only does it have the California clip blade or the Turkish, not sure what the difference is, Turkish clip point blade. This one is cut meat before, so you can see a little patina. It's got the sheep's foot blade, extremely useful. I really like Stockman for that, those two blades. But then they usually have a little spay blade, but this one has in this case, I would say more useful. And I do that so as not to continue to scratch up that blade. That is something that happens a lot with Stockman. But this one has the punch blade or the awl, and it's in carbon steel, Case carbon steel. Actually, this is the CV steel before they started labeling it carbon. Is that right? Let me make sure I'm not speaking out of school here. Yep. Yep. It's the CV. So, but still a really, really awesome. Love it. And then it's got that black Del Rin. So this is very much the cousin, or I should say, this is the three-bladed brother to the jackknife I have in the same setup, same size, that I've used a million times to do all sorts of dirty jobs. So I'm fond of the pattern. I'm fond of this handle shape and that black Del Rin. But this one here is the carbon, whereas my other one is the working man steel. So you can see all the grind lines and everything. Ryan Vest, how you doing, sir? Ryan, are you a Deadhead? I went to one Grateful Dead show in 1991. Quite possibly before you were born, not sure, and discovered a couple of years back that my neighbor across the street, who grew up in a totally different state from me, and then a neighbor from down the street who also grew up in a different state from all three of us, we were all at the same show years before we ever met and became friends, which was kind of cool to learn. Anyway, long way of saying welcome. LCV Blades Edge says, I love the train manipulation of the knife, whether in hand at work or on the bob dummy or at home right now, flipping and fidgeting while watching. Just anything, really. Knives are definitely life. It's funny, LCV, someone once said a long time ago, I don't remember who it was, and I think it was on this show, but it could have been somewhere else that I saw it. But they were saying that in the movie Inception, they all have some sort of thing that they have. Like, for instance, I have this challenge coin for Have a Knife Day that I have always right here in front of me on my computer. Thank you very much. Have a Knife Day. But they all have something in that movie that keeps them grounded or can bring them back to reality. And that person said, my thing would be the knife, constantly flipping the knife. And I do agree with you in a sense that knife is life in a lot of ways. It is in a lot of ways. Robert Douglas says, I practice the ability to open a blade with both hands. Yes. In my sleep. Sounds counterintuitive, but I don't carry a blade out of concern. I can harm no one. A code of personal honor, Bob. Oh, interesting. Well, hey, we all have to have a code of personal honor. My code might require me to hurt someone. But hopefully never with a knife, or no, I shouldn't say never, but hopefully I wouldn't have to use a knife. Right here, this was the knife on my 3 o'clock today. This is too big for me to carry appendix, but perfect for 3 o'clock, 3 seasons out of the year. And that's the Hogtooth Ruffian, 154 cm, deep hollow ground, pretty stout, awesome jimping. Mine has the blue liners and the natural tan micarta. I when me and my mom and my dad went to Matt's shop because my dad had, and my two daughters, because my dad commissioned Matt to make some knives for my mom for the kitchen. I saw this. It was around my birthday. It was actually on my birthday. So I was like, oh, I better get a knife from you. And I saw the blade, and it was pretty much ready to go. And we picked the liners and the handle. And so this is not only a great knife, but it's a very special knife sentimentally. But man, this handle is incredible. I cannot wait to see the small version of this, or to get the small version of this. I've seen it. It's so far it has the handles on there, but uncontoured. I think by the end of the day, he had it with the handles on there. He was sending me kind of progress pics. It is cool. It will be awesome. A little bit smaller than the Nova one, or right about the size of the Nova one. So definitely a true pocket fixed blade in this configuration. Lastly on me, for emotional support, I had the bird Cara Cara, and I'll show you how I had this on me today. Actually, let me see. Well, I'm not going to do this because but I had this in my back pocket, back right pocket, and when you draw it, you can wave it open. I have it set up for left-hand carry, but that's so that I can really have it on my right and draw it in reverse grip and have it as a Pakal, in Pakal grip, like Scott Babb of Libre Fighting. He uses this knife minus the serrations, but I love this knife with the serrations. Look at how wicked that looks. The step down, this sort of tearing hook right here, all these nasty serrations, and a very extremely thin and sharp forward part. Look at how high up that edge goes. That cutting edge. It's wicked. So that's a very, very sharp knife. The Cara Cara, it's like $40 or so, 43 something bucks. Well worth it. Well worth it. I quickly got over the goofy looking opening hole. I did not like the opening hole, but now that I actually have it, I don't even notice it, and it works fine. I just like the circle better. Also with the circle from Spyderco, this notch is a little further back. This is a bit long, and it cams out. It cams out fine, but I prefer the wave to be a little bit further back towards the pivot. But this works fine, and it will open every single time. Every single. So if you want to pull it out without it opening, you better kind of cover it with your hands, like so. All right, this is what I had on me. What'd you have on you? Let me know. Let me know. Let me put these. Let me sheath this and close these so I don't cut myself. All right. Danzig Rules. Good to have you here. Danzig Rules. Today I was wearing my Turner CNC Elvia 2. I have one right over here. I have to send to Jock. It's got to make my video. Jock. Oh, I should have sent that out today. Anyway, today I was wearing my Turner CNC Elvia 2. In the pocket was the Cold Steel Frenzy. That's a great combo. Two like Hawkbill style blades. Just recently acquired the Chris knife that was featured on your show. You're the one. Oh shit. I was on his website today, and I was like, it's not there. Like, and I said, I think I want to get that. And he's like, okay. And I saw that it wasn't there, and I was like, maybe he took it down for me. That's awesome. Well, Danzig, I'm glad you got it. That is awesome. I hope you post pictures of it. I'm not sure if you're on Instagram but I want to see pictures of it. And know that I am also a spiritual. Can I be its godfather? Very nice, very nice. You beat me to it. That's so funny. I'm like, oh, maybe he held it aside for me. Of course. I mean, that's so stupid of me. Will B says Grimsmo Norseman, Protect Mordax. I love that knife, and I love that name. The Riot Horizon C, Spyderco Manix 2XL, the Kaiser Roach, the Max Ace Neptune. Keep looking at that one. The Nova 1, excellent choice. The Riot XO, I thought you already said. Oh, that was the Horizon. The Olight Patan 3, the Karis Bolt V2, the Bastinelli Mako. I like the way you're veering back into knives. And the Tops Dart in my Jeep. I was going to say, like, not only are you veering back into knives, but big damn knives. But that Tops Dart in your Jeep. That's cool. That is such a cool knife. The Tops Dart, actually, if you think about it, the name is a little deceptive. Dart we think of as a small, precise, but the Dart is a big, isn't that a big recurved, like 1/4 inch thick slab of Tops awesomeness? Blade Ogre says, carrying the clever girl, the Microtech Ultratech 85 UT. So that's the UTX, right? The Buck Exert. Oh my God. Let me start this from the beginning. Carrying the clever girl, the Microtech Ultratech 85, the Buck Exert, the Case Clasp. Oh, every time you mention that. The Williamson Blondie and World Legal. I always thought the World Legal was cool. The Cobra Tech Hidden Auto Bone Trapper. That also sounds cool. Baron Sons Outrider Spay, and the Dino Spike and Sleazy Ogre. That's a good. My gosh, I'm sorry, guys. That is a solid carry today, Blade Ogre, I gotta say. Today, Dave says, today's fabulous carry, Microtech SOCOM Elite Natural Clear Apocalyptic. The ZT, oh, this one has been getting me too, Dave. The ZT 308 Black Tiger Stripe. Beautiful. TKL Knives, Neves, FLN Karambit. I am just like pacing by the door waiting for mine. I got it with the integral metal, and they're very new. They have a new burl, one of their new G10 burls. I can't remember what it's called, but it looks cool. Concept Cosmos from Munko, love him. Paul Munko, Microtech Mini Warcom Fixie. Oh, too much jimping, am I right? Or is that just how it looks? And the Olight Warrior Mini 3. I know you say, what? Too much jimping? How is that possible? But when you look at it, it looks like it's jimped all the way around. But what I don't know is how it feels. Is it more of a tactile thing just for indexing, or is it really, really grippy all the way around? Do tell. LCV says, are there other thumb hole, thumb stud combo knives? Thumb hole, thumb stud combo knife. The one I can think of is over there, but it's something Dave sent over here, and we'll go out to one of you at some point. But the Civivi Picaro has a nice big opening hole and a floating thumb stud right in the middle. I don't have it out. But that's the perfect example, I gotta say. Humble Dog Walker says, Bob and Jim, hello, awesome show. Well, it's good to have you here, Humble Dog Walker. As always, I hope you got something big with you on your Humble Dog walk, because you never know. Hopefully the dog will help you out, but you never know when you might have to help the dog out. Craig Vincent says, it was a busy week. Yeah, it was for me too. Okay, gotcha. Sold a Buck 110 TRX. Nice. Gave my Super Freak to a kid working his first construction job. That's so cool, Craig. That is such a cool thing to do. Had an SRK, Steingrabe. Wait, what's an SRK? SRKC and a Para 3 arrive. SRK. The Cold Steel SRK and a Cold Steel SRK-C, which, by the way, are like $30 or $35 for a compact SRK. Anyone who needs a fixed blade in their life and doesn't really care to do too much investigation, get an SRC, SRK-C. It's a 5-inch SK5 blade, clip point. It'll do you good for the rest of your life. Anyway, and bought a Recon Tonto because I couldn't resist. Good man. Keeping Cold Steel afloat. They need the help. No, I'm just kidding. Daniel Huff says, I carried the Spyderco Endura in K390, clipped to the front right pocket. So that K390 will patina, right? I'm curious how that looks, how yours is patinaing. I carried the Case Mini Sodbuster in Sea Dragon pattern in right cargo pocket. Also carried the Victorinox Adventure. That case Sea Dragon looks really nice. I like that sort of turquoise color. That ruffian is gorgeous, says Broke AZ Knives. I'll hold it up so you can check it out. Yeah, I dig this thing. It is pretty nice. Robert, and extremely capable, by the way. These make really awesome feather stickers, as do the little EDC Tontos. They're little. I say little, but it's the size of the Nova one, the other one. Robert Von Darth, good to have you here, Robert. Pocket check, the same Cold Steel Raja 2. I'm looking into cold bluing the stainless with some bluing chemical for stainless I found on the web. That sounds cool. Are there other ways to darken a stainless blade? If anyone knows, put it in the comments. Let's talk about it. Pedro Armstrong, nice to have you here. Howdy, howdy, he says. Well, howdy to you, good sir. Stephen Clayton, good to have you here, Stephen, our resident TKL knives expert. Good evening, everyone, he says. Well, good evening to you, sir. Put this back down. I have only one TKL out here, and in honor of you, sir, I will pull it out. This is my MR1. I love the MR1. Cheeto Montana, good to have you here, Cheeto. Yo, Pedro. This is the Pikal version of the Night Stalker, basically. But that's that. What is this? Urban Camo Burl or something? I can't remember what this is. Smoke something. I don't know. I just love all the Burl G10s they're putting on the knives. Five Door says today's carry Fatty SNG and Tactical Bear. Very nice. The Fatty SNG looks very appealing. Craig Vincent, Bob, I've been thinking about the Bird Harrier 2 Warncliffe serrated. Thoughts on that one? I would say go for it. And I'll tell you why. This is awesome. This bird is really good. I really like it. Now, some of the things when I first got it, I was like, oh, this feels cheap. And not deal breaker cheap, but like the edges of some of the things felt sharp. But all of that has worn in. A week later, it feels great. Super solid. Great action. And then you're talking about the Harrier 2 Warncliffe with the serrated blade. I have its Spyderco analog, and that is awesome. So knowing that and knowing this, I would say 100% go for it. The only thing that would be cooler is if they had it with a Emerson Wave on it. But I would say go for it without hesitation. Jesse, good to have you here, Jesse. Evening all, he says. Evening to you, sir. Jawako, nice to have you here, Jawako. Blacked out theme today. Miguran Moyarl, the Kaiser Cobalt 2 in 4V and aluminum. Case Stockman, great minds thinking alike, of course. And handmade mini Bowie. That sounds cool. I love it. Handmade mini Bowie. That's kind of like what I had. I had a handmade mini or mini-ish Bowie. Stephen Clayton says Remnant Alliance Scourge, mini Tonto, TKL Combatant FLN 3 FLNs, not the FLN 3. The Guardian, the Night Stalker. These are all TKL knives. Night Stalker CG combat grade, the Piranha FMF, the Accomplice, the FMF, by the way, is a super cool knife. The Frogman, is that the Frogman clip point? The Accomplice, the MR1 right here, and then the Crudo Snag Bit. I always thought Crudo knives were pretty cool looking, and the Midgard Messers Mini Axe. Not sure I know that one. SD5. I seem to miss the SD5. Now the Midgard's Messer mini axe. That's one that sounds interesting. There it is. Starting to get stuffy, people. Will B says, yes, Bob, the top start is my gone to hell knife. Because when it's all gone to hell, it's what I've got in the car. It's a beast. Oh man. Hopefully you never have to use it. Microtech Warcom jimping is more bumpy than sharp. Okay. That's kind of, I sort of intuited that, I guess. Still just a bit better with gloves. Gotcha. Still bumpy, but maybe just a little bit too much. But what a cool knife. And you got the Warncliffe, right? That comes in a Warncliffe and a Tonto, I believe. Or maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe it's just a Warncliffe. Pete Davidson, good day, Bob. Well, good day to you, Pete Davidson, Jim, and Junkies. Merry Easter. Public holiday here today, and everything is shut except my work and my Knife Junkie, and the Knife Junkie. So good Friday for you. Good Friday. That's awesome. You get a public holiday for that. And and I hope you're having a good day. I hope you have a wonderful day. And what are you doing? What are you doing on your day off? Are you being productive or are you being relaxed? You know, we need both. We need to recharge the batteries, and sometimes on our days off, we got to feel productive. I don't always feel like I have to feel productive, but sometimes I do. Just curious what you're doing on your Good Friday. Daniel Huff says my K390 has patinaed quite nicely. Excellent. Patinaed. Robert Douglas says, ever try a Saul's drop point, Bob? Oh, Salus. No, but I have the MR1, or no, the Mark 1 from that's Combative Edge, right? The Salus, isn't that Combative Edge? I have the M1. That was the very first knife he released years ago. It was on Nut and Fancy and Jim Skelton. Great knife. It's got a big flipper on it, but it's just a guard. It is not a flipper. Have a Knife Day says Matriarch 2 FRN Emerson opener. Oh, black blade. Very nice. That is a wicked blade right there. That's the serrated S curve with the Emerson opener. Case 2-blade bone stag hunter. Awesome carry, man. I know you had a Bowie on you. What was it? Craig Vincent says the 8010, the Recon 1, the large Luzon, the Engage 3.5, the Range Boss, and I kept both eyes out with my silver and golden eyes. Oh my God. So that's 7 cold steels. The other knives I carried were the PM2, the QSP Hawk, and the Petrified Fish Mikado. Okay, so Mokado. That is a round, not around, but a round 10 knives. So yes, 10 knives. That's in keeping with the upper end of what, some people here carry 1 knife, some 3, and then some 10. That seems to be kind of where we stand. Most are 3, I'd say. Robert Strevin, good evening to you, Bob, Jim, and all junkies out there. Robert, good to have you here, as always, with your crossed lacrosse sticks. Oh, you ever play lacrosse with a human head? No, I'm just kidding. But don't they say that's what they used to do? Isn't that what people say, or is that some other sport? Anyway, the basket would have to be bigger on your stick, no doubt. Benedict Odie, good to have you. Howdy, Bob. Howdy, junkies, he said. I just assumed. Oh, it's all about me. Pete Davidson says, carried a well-worn police K390 with titanium and carbon fiber. I've been thinking about the original all stainless, swedged, fully serrated cold steel police, but I haven't pulled the trigger. With titanium and carbon fiber, an Austrian Army issue Victorinox Swiss tool. That sounds cool. O-Knife Freeze 2 copper with shipwreck patina. I love that. And Sanmai Peacekeeper and a Delta Dart. Oh, the Delta Dart. You know what? The Delta, first of all, kudos on the Sanmai Peacekeeper. That's a nice flex. But the Delta Dart was always weird to me. Oddly overpriced. The Delta Dart was like $100, wasn't it? The triangular thing, and it had a little like neck sheath. It was very expensive. I never quite understood that. Am I thinking of the right thing? Blade Ogre says, didn't they stop making the Williamson Blondie and World Legal years ago? Bought them both from Apostle P last week for $25. Just loving the Blondie. It's a huge knife. With a 4.5/16 spiky blade. I don't know anything about the Blondie, but the World Legal, Yeah, I would say that's pretty old, and I know that for a short period of time, it was selling at places like Lowe's, like for a very short period of time, if I'm not mistaken, which I never am. Pete Davidson says, "I'm a chef, so I work very public holiday." Oh, every public holiday. Ah, well, hopefully you're enjoying it and what am I trying to say? Getting value out of feeding others. Robert Douglas says, "Oh wait, and what do you specialize in food wise?" And wait. One other thing, there was a place in New York City called Bondi Beach or Bondi Beach. How's that pronounced? Uh, Obviously, an Australian restaurant, probably the only one I think in New York City, and it was in the East Village. And I went there a few times and I enjoyed it. And every time I got kangaroo sausage, and I worked with a woman, a producer who was from Australia, and I remember coming in and like, "Hey, I had kangaroo sausage," and she's like, "That's like telling me you ate rat sausage." I was like, "Oh, well, it was delicious, and who knows, maybe I'd like rat." Is that gross? Let's talk Australian cuisine for a moment. Tell me what your specialty is. Hollywood Tactical says they say that about the British and soccer with the severed head. Okay, lacrosse was a Native American game, and their style of warfare was more about touching your opponent with your stick. Oh, okay. Okay. Doug Bowl says, "Hi, Bob. Good to see you. Doug, it's good to have you here, man. When I want to apply patina, I first use cold blue and then use clear to CLR to remove any excess. Cold blue. What is cold blue? You ever use like vinegar or mustard or just hot meat or anything like that? I know that a hot meat is not going to get a full patina over everything or a uniform, but I'm curious. What's cold blue? Pete Davidson, sorry, FGX Delta Dart. Okay. The plastic poking fellow, good for moving through writhing masses of people. Excuse me. Excuse me. Yeah. Good for, yeah. That triangular blade is going to go through a lot, whether it's plastic or not, man. That's gonna do some damage. That's French for damage. Uh, oh, sorry. I was just about to sneeze, but I didn't. Okay. Let me show you some cool stuff here. Here are some of my most recent acquisitions. Yes. Now, I was on Blade forums lurking around there. Someone had an awesome deal on a Gen 2 LUDT, which is what I want. Now they're on to Gen 3. I'm not crazy about the Gen 3, got to be honest, just with the way it looks. Who knows, maybe it'll grow on me over time, but I really like the Gen 2 and I want a Gen 2. And so someone had one up for a great price on Instagram, and it was, it wasn't some, it wasn't pink or whatever. It was in great shape and all of that. And they just wouldn't return. I just could not get in touch with them. I don't know. And I saw other people like PM sent and funds sent and all this. And I'm like, how do I pay you? I want this thing. Never. And it was frustrating. So I wanted a fourth for this trip for you know, I know that 3 are very stable, but I do have other microtechs here, like this one, and then 2 others. So I really needed the LUDT for symmetry, and it's driving me nuts. Uh, and the guy just wouldn't respond. I know, first world problems for sure, but since I got them, I may as well gripe to the people who understand them. Why does this happen? Why is it that I go down the rabbit hole and now suddenly I'm just so into these? They are so well made. We do know that. They're cool designs. Um, Luckily, I don't have a super, how do I say this nicely? A super jonesing for out the front knives. Otherwise, I'd go instantly broke because of all of their out the fronts. Though I am interested in the Hera 3.8 inches. Definitely interested in that. And then the no wiggle one. Want to check that out. Bob, I got 2 for you. First, what do you use to clean your knives with? Okay. And do you use the same product after you use? Okay. Oh, favorite coffee. It depends. We'll get to the coffee in a second. First, as far as cleaning the knives, if it's a fixed blade, oftentimes I'll use soap. I love Dawn, and soap and water. But really, like first and foremost, rubbing alcohol, isopropyl. If you can get it in 90% or the highest percent you can get, that takes all your gunk off the blades from tape and other stuff like that. I like alcohol the best too because I tend to use, like you're mentioning, food. I tend to use my knives for food too. I want to make sure that they're clean, and so I find that alcohol is the best for, like, as a solvent, getting sticky stuff and the kind of stuff you're most likely to have stuck on your blade off. Though if you have food on there, if you don't have an opportunity, if you use your knife to cut food and you don't have the opportunity to fully clean it off, and then later you have it on there, best thing is water and some abrasion, like a sponge or something. Uh, Alcohol on that is you want to use, you want to clean it like you would a knife in your kitchen. So that's what I do. And then mineral oil, which is food safe, oftentimes is what I'll rub in high carbon steel. And then you say, "Oh, what's your favorite coffee to drink?" I like black, French roast, Vienna roast, or espresso roast. So dark. I like it dark because I drink a lot, and I love the flavor of dark roast. But dark roast has the least caffeine because the most caffeine has been cooked off. So it probably works out best that I like strong black coffee, because strong black dark roast coffee has less caffeine than the stuff your grandma made that's kind of weak. Have a Knife Day says Birchwood Casey making cold bluing products, either a paste or liquid. Oh, check it out. Okay, everyone. Birchwood Casey, check that out. Cold bluing products. Thank you. Have a Knife Day. That's awesome. Ex Cato, good to have you here. Good evening, all, and happy Easter. Happy Easter to you, sir. Carrie, today's carry is the ZT. Oh, 200. Nice deep cut, man. The Bally song pre-Benchmade. So that was the Pacific Knife Company. Is that what it was called? I believe that's what it was called. AFCK. Oh, okay. Bally song pre-Benchmade AFCK. So they were called Bally song. Okay. At one point they were called Pacific Knife Company too. The Spidey Warren Thomas Karambit. Oh, that's cool. I like that one too. And the Cold Steel Tough Light. Let me ask you about the Warren Thomas Spyderco Karambit. Uh, is the ring made up of two of the liners? And if so, how does that feel on the finger if you do the flipping and stuff? Just curious. Robert Douglas, I use trisodium sulfate for etching. Trisodium I'm sorry. Trisodium sulfate. Trisodium sulfate. Where do you get that, Robert? Is that something that you can easily acquire, or is that something you get from a specialty website? Pete Davidson says, hold the dart along your finger in the finger bang grip. It looks like you're just poking people with your finger to get them to move. Oh, that's cool. I like that. I like that, Pete. That's advice from a man who knows. I like that. That's what this is for. And it's like, it's my sharp finger. It's like, get out of the way. It's really like a little scalpel. Stephen Clayton says, April 1st is T-Kel's Blade Drop. I know, and there's some pretty awesome stuff in that drop. I must refrain, unfortunately. I have to pay for the Nova 2 prototype. I like to, that's how we do it. And so I got to pay for that. And I was going to get that Chris. That is no longer a thing. So that's so cool. I'm glad that you got that. Robert says cold bluing room temperature is the stuff typically used to blue firearms. as opposed to hot bluing process. Okay, I've used the cold bluing a number of times when I was making knives. I did that just to make them dark, and also to protect them because they were 1095 and not very well ground, not very well finished. Doug Bull says cold blue is the liquid made to blue firearms instead of hot bluing, and that I got that stuff at Dick's before Dick's totally, defanged itself and got rid of anything gun oriented. At least in my area, they totally pussed out. Robert Douglas says, might work on stainless, but don't know. Huh. I wonder if you would just have to leave it on for longer. I do know that when you put, at least the stuff that I used, which was whatever Dick's sold, when you put it on, depending on the surface and how clean it was, it would like bead up and kind of not cover. Doesn't work on stainless, says Robert Von Darth. All right. There's also a purple brown cold blue as well. Ooh, that sounds cool. Purple brown. I like the sound of that. Sword XXXY. Good to have you here. Good day. All sorry I'm late. Been doing yard work. Nice. Had the cold steel roach belly in my pocket. I love that knife. My roach belly is in the car. It's like my console knife, and I did the Anzo pattern in the handle, and then I wrapped it in jute and then burned it. So mine has this handle on the roach belly. I love that roach belly. I would love to have a custom roach belly made for me sometime. Pete Davidson says, actually, wait, I'm sorry. Before I get to that, the Station 9 makes a small knife that looks kind of like a roach belly, but is a higher quality, obviously. Pete Davidson says, after cleaning my knives, a quick squirt of camellia is good to prevent rust. It's non-toxic and safe to use with food. Camellia. I'm not sure what camellia is. Some sort of oil, presumably, but is that like a natural thing, or is that a synthetic? Five Door says, you guys don't just throw them in the dishwasher. Of course we do, man. Especially ones like this. Especially if they have nice wooden handles. Throw this thing right in there. Clean out that pivot and all. Greg Vincent, Bob, I don't mod my knives as of yet, but I started to add jimping to some. I like what jimping does for grip retention. In fact, I might add jimping to my next wife. Nice. So I might retain her too. Craig, that's pretty good, man. That's some real talk knife humor. I like that. Jimping. How do you feel about jimping, Jenny? Well, this Jenny here likes jimping. Well, Jenny, you're a keeper. Kilkenny, good to have you here, Kilkenny. Ferric chloride is what I use to darken a stainless steel knife. Took time, but worked well. Okay, let me ask you, does anyone know how do you darken titanium? I have a titanium clip that is anodized gold, and I want to just turn it black, but I don't want to send it out. How do I do that? It doesn't have to be shiny. It doesn't have to look nice. I just want it dark. Anyone know how to do that to titanium? Chad Damron, good to have you here. What's up, peeps? He says, well, what's up with you, man? Just drinking some hot black coffee. Danzig Rules says, I don't have social media, but I can send you a picture of the Chris in an email. That's TheKnifeJunkie at gmail.com. Just got sidetracked. I was rummaging through my sword racks. Oh, yes. Racks, plural. I like that. Trying to find it and didn't realize it was on my Bob dummy. Danzig, I don't know you, but I know I like your man cave. Sounds awesome. That Chris was good. I hope he makes another Chris. And this time I will buy it quicker. I was like, anyway, Doug Bowles says, to clean my folders, I just spray it down with a commercial spray sunglass lens cleaner. That works. That's just alcohol anyway, right? Excato says, and maybe a little ammonia, right? Ammonia, isn't that what glass cleaner? Excato says, yes, the ring is made of 2 frames, but Spyderco did a fantastic fantastic job chamfering it all. Okay, so spinning it goes very smoothly. As far as my experience has been, not uncomfortable at all. Okay, cool. I always kind of wondered about that, but I love the way it looks. It's also a backlock. Backlocks are so strong. People forget backlocks are so strong. Camellia is a flower, says George. Okay. All right. Camellia oil is popular with the Japanese. Okay. Probably camellia oil from the camellia plant, all natural and doesn't have a taste. All right. I'm going to have to seek this out. Later, guys. Ask Will or Mike Emler. All righty, man. Robert Douglas, always good to have you here. I hope you have an awesome weekend and a happy Easter. Take care, sir. Pete Davidson says to darken titanium, you can heat it up and dip it in oil. Really? Heat it up and dip it in oil. Now, let me ask you, Pete Davidson, do I need to get like a super hot, like a torch, or can I do it in the flame, the gas flame of my stove, and then dunk it in olive oil? Like, do I have to be specific? Hopefully not. I guess I should just try and check it out. Well, since Jim has this up, you really should check out our newsletter. And I'll tell you why. You're like, Bob. No, but really, every week, right after we record the supplemental, I do a little newsletter. It's not much. And there's a picture. It's not much, but it's just enough. And if you're on that, when the bottom falls out of society, I can still get in touch with you and we can still talk about knives. So join the newsletter, theknifejunkie.com/newsletter, and you'll get it. Open it. You don't even have to read it. Just open it. So our opening clicks go up. But read it because it's good. You know, and Jim always comes up with an awesome headline. Robert Von Dar says, can you anodize titanium to black? Oh, wait. You can home anodize titanium to black. YouTube search. That's funny, Robert. Yeah, that's one of those moments. It's like, how do you get downtown? Like when I lived in New York, people would be like, on the subway, standing right next to a map. How do I get to? Well, it's like, it's right here on this map, so you can just look at it. You're like, you can just anodize, like it's on YouTube. But it's true. I could have just done that, but I just wanted to know if any of you had any tried and true techniques to offer. But apparently not. I will YouTube it. Okay, I'll YouTube it just like everything else. I'll YouTube it. How to be a good father. I'm just kidding. Open mic night. What do you guys think of this? The ram lock. Do you guys have anyone out there have a ram lock? I think I like it best of all of the bar style locks, of all of the Axis style locks. I think I like the ram lock the best. I do know for sure I trust it the most. And I got to say, of all of the non-triad lock and of all of the non-triad or non-frame lock locks out there, I trust the ram lock most, I got to say. Why? I think it's because of the giant block of material that's it's not just a bar that is engaging with that tang. It's a giant block of metal. I think that's titanium right there, just engaging in that whole chunk there. It's like a big block. The ram lock, if you noticed, it's all in caps, and that means something. So yeah, I think this is a pretty strong lock, and it's also actually just really great to use. I love the fact that they use it. Basically looks like the actuating switch on one of the out the fronts as the lock mechanism. These things are just so cool. And then with the amphibian, which I highly recommend, especially if you like big tactical knives. It's got big tactical folders. That is, it's got this really great jimping that wraps all the way around the perfectly shaped pommel. So if you're going to use this in the reverse grip like this, it's perfectly set up. I love this knife. I think it's really, really, this is one of the, this has reactivated my love of tactical folders. I use Flitz to clean my blades. Oh yeah, Flitz is great too. I have Flitz too. And I go to that when things are bad. when things have gotten out of hand. But Flitz is actually just great as a regular sort of nourisher of steel. It's like it's like it's like hand lotion on the blade. I use Flitz to clean my blades. Is that bad for blades? No. I use polished aluminum on aircraft for a living. I used polished I used polished aluminum on aircraft for a living, and it works great for that application. But I wasn't into knives back then. I used to use aluminum polish on my homemade strops before I got got wise to actual stropping compound and stuff. Yeah, actually aluminum polish is pretty sweet. Yeah, if you're I have a bunch of strops that I made out of an unfinished belt, and I would put it on a 6-inch or 7-inch length of yardstick and just sort of glue it on there, and then drill a hole in it and have a little lanyard, because the lanyard helps in keeping it between your fingers. And I would just rub aluminum polish in there, and it's just gritty enough. It's great to put a polished edge on. Pete Davidson, suck it and see. And see, Bobo. Veggie oil works well, and your stove may get the thin clip hot enough. Otherwise, just get a small butane torch. I do have a small butane torch. It's somewhere. I gotta find it. That's the problem. Wait, why were you telling me to suck it? What were you telling me to suck? Anyway, Doug Bowl says, Bob, what do you think of using a good synthetic gun oil for knives? Doesn't go bad or rancid. Well, that's a good thing. Not going rancid. I used it in my out the fronts, my Microtech out the fronts, and I used Hops number 9, which I think was too thick. They recommend Rem oil, and I didn't have any, so you used the Hops, and it wasn't great, I got to say. But I think in general, I think it would be fine. On the pivot, yeah, it's probably going to work great. Will B says, I've not darkened titanium on purpose. I did it on accident when I let it sit in an acid etch too long. Oh. Did it start to corrode any of the material? Wilby says, I have a Ramlock Stitch and an amphibian. Although Mike Emler has my amphibian right now, he likes it so much he bought one for himself. Yeah, I know. He's been talking about that in his latest couple of videos. Great knife. And look at the serrations on this one and the placement. It's just so nasty. Oh, that's nasty. Trying to get it to focus. Yeah. Sweet knife. Jawako says, any heated acid bath will oxidize titanium. Any heated acid bath will oxidize titanium. It readily and instantly oxidizes in air, just very oxide formed. Does a great job of preventing further oxidation. Okay, instantly oxidizes in air. All right, I'm gonna have to check this out. I don't know about an acid bath or what I'll use. But I'm definitely going to, go down this path on YouTube. Thomas Farkas says, I own 2 Ramlock stitches, G10 and aluminum. I also own 2 Ramlock amphibians, G10 serrated and standard aluminum. Oh, man, absolutely love the Ramlock. I absolutely love your collection. Thomas says, oh, also forgot, I have an MSI in Ramlock. The MSI, you know what I like about the MSI is the Ramlock and the price. I am not a fan of that knife. Just the way it looks. I'm sure it is an awesome. I love the size. I'm sure it's a great cutter and all that. I'm sure it does great. I just don't like the way it looks, honestly. And that means something to me. Whereas this looks just so cool. Donzig says, I have the amphibian and stitch just like yours without the serrations with OD Green G10. And I love the Ramlock. Just know one guy had an issue with the Ramlock failing, but mine haven't. I heard that when they very first released it, this portion of the tang where it engages was a little bit shorter or something, and they elongated it to give the Ramlock more room to engage. I think that's what it was. And so if you got yours, with the fluted handle, that means the whether G10 or aluminum, it's a pretty good sign that it's one with the issue that's been worked out. Pete Davidson says, "Suck it and see." Oh, is an Australian saying. Basically means give it a go and see what happens. Oh, that's awesome. Suck it and see. That's funny. Talk about uh, getting wires crossed. Like suck it. Here is like, yeah, suck it. Like there you go. Or I don't know what you would say, but like suck it is like in your face, man. In your face. Uh, and when I was in England once with my wife a long time ago, and we were trying to get somewhere, and we were in a taxi cab, and I said, "Thank you, sir." And the guy was the cabbie was so insulted. He was like, "Do I look like a sir to you? I'm a lowly." He got sarcastic. I'm a lowly taxi driver, and you call me sir like I'm royalty. Do I look like royalty? I was like, "Geez, no. It's a sign of respect where I come from." And he's like, "Well, it's not here. It sounds sarcastic. Are you taking a piss?" And I was like, no, 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 like the opposite. Uh, my mistake. And we passed over it. But man, he was insulted big time, and I meant nothing by it. Jawko says any heated acid bath will work. Titanium oxidizes nearly instantly at air room temp. The oxide layer does a great job of protecting against further oxidization. Generally, electricity is used. Okay. Yeah, right. I say yeah, right. What I mean is I've watched videos when I've seen wires and acid baths. Uh, Thomas Farkas says oil for my knives. I use nano oil. Ooh, that sounds small. There's also the specific knife pivot lube, KPL, and other things like that too. But that's not so much for clean. That's not so much for nourishing the steel. That's more for lubricating the pivot. Will B says, yes, the titanium got pitted when I burned it in the acid. Ooh, but did that look cool? That might look cool. Hey, what's up, Scab? Good evening. Good evening. It's so good to have you here, man. In honor of seeing you, I'll show the biggest knife on my table right now. Scab, have you ever used this? This is the Cold Steel Chieftain Sax. This is one of their windlass cutlery made knives made over in India. It's like in keeping with the Wild West Bowie. This thing is awesome. I really like it. What I really like about it is that it moves kind of like a sword, light and lively in the hand with some weight in the pommel, keeping the tip of the like 13-inch blade moving around. I love it. I love the sax, the Brokeback sax. It's sort of Bowie like. It's so cool. Pete Davidson says in Australia, if you're pissed, that means you're drunk. Yeah. I've heard that in England too. Robert Strebin says, so just wondering, is it mainly due to lanyards? Oh, wait, is it manly to put lanyards on knives? Well, yeah, it can be. I have a few knives with them on and ready. I think about putting more on many others, but I don't want to look like a sissy. Well, what kind of knife is it? All right. What kind of knife is it? I mean, I'm thinking like a lot of Tops knives, like the Wild Pig Hunter and stuff like that, ship with a lanyard on it, and it's long, and it's got like a noose thing at the bottom, and it looks cool. And think of Rambo. He had lanyards. Was he a sissy? No, he absolutely was not a sissy. Uh, then again, you don't want to get too precious with your lanyards on your folders. And what I mean by precious, uh, I mean, well, look at Jimmy Slash. He has lanyards on all of his knives that he keeps. And he does cool stuff, cool knot. It's like a snake knot, and it's utilitarian and it looks good, but he's not too precious with it. He doesn't have little beads and all sorts of special matchy. That's dope, man. Says Scab. Yeah, I agree. I agree. It is. And you know what else? While we're at it, we were talking about Jed Hornbeak before. I'm not sure if you were here, but this is one of my absolute favorite knives. Um, Jared Neves uses a funny term, hand melting, meaning very, very comfortable in the hand, but it always makes me laugh. This is hand melting. If anything I have melts my hand or melts in my hand, it is this. And I learned about him kind of simultaneously through you and who else? Someone else around the same time. Professor EDC says, Bob, Jim, fellow junkies, good to have you here, Professor EDC. Hope everyone is doing well. What is going on? Well, we're just sitting here on a Thursday night trying not to bore our wives, talking about knives with people who care. Danzig says, I use beeswax on my swords, knives, axes, you name it, even on the leather scabbards and wooden handles. I use that on my lips. I can't use like other kind of chapstick. It's got to be beeswax. That stuff is magical. It's like olive oil, stuff from the ancient days that were used on all sorts of things and to do all sorts of things. Oh, wait, let me get my headphones.
Oh, hey.
So wait. Say something. Let me see if I can hear you.
Can you hear me? No?
No.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. I wanted to answer real quick the guy that commented, should I
Practical, how you doing, man?
Hey, how's it going? I wanted to comment on that last the last comment about whether you should have lanyards or not, right?
Okay,
and you
let's hear
mentioned
it.
Jimmy Slash, right?
Yeah.
So this is the best knife available, the Shark Lock, and Spartan bead speed and all that lanyard. I mean, it's really convenient to grab it out sometimes with this, right? And it does have a purpose as well, like beyond that. And
Which
in
is
terms of, well, cordage, if you need cordage, and
I got
also if you want to, put your pinky in there after you use it, because the thing is, I lose knives all the time because I use it and then I put it down. Right?
How heavy is the bead? Can you use it as a flail?
I mean, if you wanted, it wouldn't be heavy enough, I think. I mean,
okay.
And this is for eyes at most, right? You need more, right?
Right. You
Force
might,
equals mass times acceleration,
You might just make your assailant
better to
laugh.
swing that,
Yeah.
That would be heavier.
Yeah,
and I mean, it looks cool. And you can color code. I don't have a problem with that. But I'll go so far as to say, this is my most EDC, right? Because it's a dirt cheap blade, right?
Yeah.
But and it's Cali legal. Like, you can own whatever length, but to carry, it has to be under 2 inches, right? And I mean, I deliberately carry pink camo. I mean, if he's worried about not being manly enough, I do this because it's so unassuming. It's cute.
Cognitive dissonance.
Absolutely, and Jimmy Slash is also a big proponent of pink knives as well, because it's like, if everyone's got the same knife, oh, hey, mine's the pink one. 0 guys are going to come with a pink knife, right?
Exactly.
So, and again, it's unassuming. So I have sort of a sub collection of pink knives, right?
Thomas says, if you like lanyards, I personally don't rock that. I personally don't rock that, but who cares what people think? If it makes you happy, that's all that matters.
I think the more you own
Kumbaya, Thomas.
Yeah,
Kumbaya,
I think the more
brother.
the more you own something, I think that's what imbues manliness, that confidence to say, like, yeah, I carry pink knives. What about it? And also, this is a good way to meet girls and stuff. They'll always make a comment, So
hadn't thought of that. Well, I mean, that's they might be like, what's up with that pink knife? And you're like, it's actually quite devastating. Robert says, question for the knife tribe. Returning to the previous topic, I'm thinking that sharpening one side of a blade with a very coarse grind to a curl, then strop the other side to get a toothy edge. I haven't done it like that. I don't know. How do you feel? I've
not heard of that. It doesn't sound right to me. Sharpening is sharpening. And to get a toothy edge is not about having an asymmetrical edge. It's about how little or not you polish the edge. Yeah. So just do a normal sharpening. Just don't use a fine grit. And I agree. If you start polishing an edge, sometimes it'll actually not grab the material.
Yes.
That's the weird balance. Because you can get super duper 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 fine apex, but at some point, I feel like I like toothy edges. Personally.
Well, you gotta have on a micro level that the teeth, you know,
Hmm.
and if you strop it too much, you're going to polish those teeth away, and it'll be super sharp in a pressure cut. Uh,
Exactly.
but
But we
any
don't
sort
always
of
pressure
pulling,
cut. If
yeah.
you're pulling or whatever, it's not grabbing it from the side. So the
I
point
have
of a knife
overstropped
is
many knives.
right. And
Sorry.
also you can also round the edge too if you overstrop.
Oh
So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
so you might actually take away. So I like leaving them rough. I feel like it's a more functional edge too, because if you make the other problem is if you make the apex way too fine, it makes it less durable, right? That's
Yeah.
why I like to leave it a little bit rough so that
Ooh.
as I use it, it'll still be more usable for longer. That's what I feel like. If you have a
Have you?
super fine apex, it's super sharp for a while, but
Yeah.
is less durable over time. Whereas if you have a rough edge, it's not super duper fine at first, but it
It'll.
stays useful longer. Yeah. Go ahead. What were you gonna ask?
Well, yeah, I agree. You'll have a couple of magical moments with it, but
Exactly. Where
as
you're
soon
like,
as
oh my god.
Patty's Nuts says, I was going to ask you if you've ever had any of these original goats scales. I've been wanting to get. He says installed new original goat aluminum gunstock textured scales in my Manix 2 lightweight. I First of all, I love my Manix 2 lightweight, though it's pinned. I don't think I could do that, but. The original goat aluminum scales. I love gunstock texturing, that sort of diamond knurling. Have you had any of those scales?
Goat scales? No, I don't know what those are.
Original Goat. It's a company that makes really awesome aftermarket aluminum and titanium scales.
The Manix, I don't know how he did on the Manix lightweight. I have the Manix lightweight, and I think you have to like really pull it apart
Well, I think the new
to change
ones
the
are.
scale.
I
Oh,
think
okay.
I think the new ones. Yeah, I have the S110V that was given to me by Shane, and it's awesome. It's pinned, but I'm pretty sure the newest ones are screw body or Danzig says Cedric and Ada Gear's outdoor channel had a video where they had knife sharpening like that, and it improved the overall cutting edge. Okay.
Sounds
Oh yeah,
interesting. Yeah.
I would go with whatever he does
Oh, I
because
agree.
he's got the
He's a
serious
whiz.
experience.
Oh yeah.
That's interesting. Humble Dog Walker says, "Have a good night, everyone. We'll keep to self from now on." Got you, Humble Dog Walker. Have an awesome night.
Uh,
Have a
I was just thinking about it. If he's basically taking it and putting a chisel micro bevel on it, essentially is what he's doing. And then now that I think about it, yeah, that would make sense because you're making the apex a lot more durable, right? So instead of the apex being 50-50, you get the entire apex like a chisel. So you've got way more material to maintain the apex. So that
mm,
would actually kind of make sense if you're
or
doing a
or
micro bevel. Yeah.
or you have half of the material because it's a chisel.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
No, the apex is the apex. It's still gonna the apex is even if it's like this or like this, right? You're still gonna eventually reach the same amount of material where the micro bevel starts, right? At the bottom of it, you're eventually gonna get thicker. I don't know if that.
Yes. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
I know it's a little bit. I know it's hard to imagine, and yeah, no,
Well,
it's hard
no.
to picture.
I see what you're getting at. It's not hard to imagine. I see what you're saying. Like whether it's
Yeah, you're still gonna reach the
oriented this
base,
way or this way, it's a
right?
triangle.
It's just
Uh,
that I'm thinking the reason why it is you're allowing more material to keep the apex versus does that make sense? This could go easier versus this will have
yeah.
more
It's
material
more
by the
stable because
time
of
you
it.
get to the so it's kind of creative. That's interesting. Maybe it's an old school thing, maybe it's a new school thing. I don't know. But I like you said, I would go with Cedric Aneda because he not only goes the theory, then he tests it in
He
real life
tests it all
conditions.
out.
So yeah, I'd go with him.
Pete Pete says, I have to agree with you, brother. In the kitchen, toothy edges cut the best and are easily maintained on the job. Yeah, definitely. Especially like like a bell pepper, like the skin on a bell pepper. People always talk about tomatoes, but I think the bell pepper can really give a lot of resistance to a very sharp blade that is over polished. Because I have that experience. You got to like add a little bit of gusto down to get it to breach that skin.
I think it's the waxiness of the skin
Gary,
on the
good to have
pepper.
you here. Oh, yeah, no, not cucumber.
No,
Pepper.
on the pepper, yeah. I
On the
think it's the
pepper. Okay.
waxiness on the peel of the on the skin of the pepper, yeah.
Gary Jarosky, good to have you here. I have the OG scales on my 8010 and I love it. OG. Oh,
The
original goat.
original goat.
Gotcha. Yeah. I was like, I have the OG scales too and never did anything to them. Not the okay, got it. Doug says my Bowie has a very slight rough edge and lets it cut through anything except a super sharp smooth edge. I'm not sure if I read that right. The concept of a micro saw edge. Yes, exactly. The micro saw edge, geometry, and then actual profile matters too. If you have a recurve or something like that, you can also accelerate your cutting that way too. Jawako says all depends on geometry and steel. Thin blade with a hard steel holds toothiness. Thick blade or softer steel needs lower, rougher grit. Either way, you just sharpen normally and adjust grit. I have found, I don't want to say reverted. I love this. It's just a little diamond. It's not a diamond stone. It's a ceramic. I think it's 600 grit and 800 grit or something. I don't know. It was given to me by my brother, and it is awesome. I've been sharpening everything with this except for my larger blades because it's put a little bit of a tooth back on everything. So everything cuts a little better with this. Patty's Nuts says, so do you think take the edge to like 600 grit? I have a KME sharpener. Yeah, I think so. I think that's what this is, and I love it. What do you think?
I think 600 is great. I like taking it to like 1,000 and stuff. I just feel like, to me, it feels like a lot of vanity. I think people just love the clout of like taking it to a super fine edge and stuff, and it's probably fun, and it certainly looks great when you have a polished edge.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, think about it. People for all of history, 600 max. I mean, they weren't really doing ceramic stuff. I don't think. They could have. Ceramic's been around for a long time, but
yeah,
it would take a while for you to realize that ceramic was actually honing it because it's so smooth. I mean, it's like, trillions of grit. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's just a super duper hard surface and I know ceramic, I think, is better for just breaking the burr, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've put pretty good edges. For instance, I've used this ceramic 600 grit ceramic stone to sharpen totally dull case knives as they've come to me. Not totally dull, but very, very rough. And I know it's not super hard steel to sharpen, but this thing has done repair jobs on a lot of great knives of mine. So I don't know. I'm a fan of ceramic.
Yeah. See the comment here saying the same thing.
Yeah. What was the one before this, Jim? If you remember, it was something that. Doug, yeah, smooth, sharp
Right,
edge requires less pressure. Yep.
Right. For pressure cuts, they're great. Right.
Yeah. Craig Vincent says, I have a newer Mannix lightweight. You can take them apart. I've been eyeing the original goat tie scales for one of my AD10s, but I put titanium scales from Flytanium on my tenacious S35VN, and it didn't work out too well. Oh, that sucks. What do I have? I got on my Delica, one of my Delicas, I have titanium scales that I just got from Smoky Mountain Knife Works that they made. They work great. Pete Davidson says meat, fat, and sinew reacts well to a toothy edge and often powers through bone. Meat, fat, and sinew. I guess sinew out of all of those is probably the biggest test, right? Give you the most resistance. Gary Jarosky says, anymore, I rarely go over 600 grit. All right, so we have a bit of a consensus. Robert Von Dar says, I'm thinking as asymmetrical apex 100 grit on one side. Oh, and then polished off the opposite side to make a micro teeth even and aligned. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm curious now. I had never thought of it, but now that he mentions it, what I was saying, it kind of makes sense for the micro bone, because I personally don't like chisel ground personally, just because I think it cuts weird. Like it forces you to cut one way.
It tracks oddly. Yeah.
Right. It just feels weird and slippery. But otherwise, if the rest of the grind is just a regular old grind, but just the micro bevel, that kind of sounds interesting. That's very intriguing.
Well, that's
might be a clever hack, you know.
That's most Emerson knives. This one happens to be totally chisel ground, but most Emerson knives have that V grind right up to the edge, and then they're chisel ground.
I see. I didn't know that. I thought it was literally always chisel.
No, just some models have the straight chisel, but most, I would say, most of them at this point have the V ground. This is just not an example of that, but still very, very, very sharp. That chisel grind gets wicked sharp, and it's really great for, I would imagine, for self-defense, because like you mentioned, it until you get the hang of it, which takes like 2 seconds,
right?
But it does go oddly through material. Doug Bowl says, use a car window edge like that. Allows me to sharpen my knives to the sharp micro saw edge. That's awesome. Yeah, I've heard of that. I've never done that, but I've heard
it's hard. I've stropped on my jeans. Right.
Yeah. You can strap on cardboard, like on a cardboard box. Greg Vincent says, I bought 2 Ontario Aglalite kitchen knives from CKW dirt cheap. They don't seem to be high end, but they have 14C28N steel. That's pretty awesome. And a very toothy edge. They cut like lasers. That's high end for kitchen.
I got one too. Yeah.
You got that knife?
I've got an unboxing. Yeah, I just did. So, because I was curious, because it's 14C28 and it's really dirt cheap, and it's Ontario. So I had to check it out.
How dirt cheap is dirt cheap?
It was sub 20, I believe. It was like 14, 15 bucks, I think. Yeah. I was like, wait, you know. So I'm curious. So I had to do it. It's going to be one of my last purchases for a while, but yeah.
I have a
unboxings coming up. So
we have a Vosteed Morgan. It's a chef's knife that Vosteed made, and it's clad. I think it's clad. Well, it's VG10 cutting edge. I think it's clad in 420J or something like that. But it's nice to have VG10 as a kitchen knife. It's got a very good.
Well, VG10 is the original kit. It's a Japanese.
Yeah. Okay, that's
steel
what I thought.
Was originally designed for kitchen knives. That's what VG10 is. Yeah.
It's awesome. I like it a lot. Pete says, I reprofiled my Perrin Bowie to 17 degrees. Nice. With a 240 grit stone, then stropped it. My gut is now shaved silky smooth from seeing if the blade is sharp enough yet. Who needs a polish?
See, especially for something like a Bowie. I mean, that was the original one purpose knife, right? You could hack with it. You could, defend yourself with it, etc. I mean, it was for skinning. It was for everything, and it's interesting. I don't know if you know, there's the Cowboy Museum here in Hollywood, the Gene Autry Museum. It's a full-blown cowboy museum. And they have, all old cowboy stuff. And they have this thing, back then they called it a California toothpick. But we today would call it a big-ass Bowie knife. Right? And, they have these old examples. I mean, they're like swords. I mean, today we think, but they really carried around some big honkers. So, and you can imagine they used it for everything. I don't think they would want a polished edge.
Oh,
right?
no.
I mean, right? You can imagine they wanted a nice toothy edge and I'm not one of the, I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I'm not one of these like, use your tools the proper way. It's like, tools are tools. Nobody ever says that about every other tool in your toolbox. No one says, use your screwdrivers right. It's like, no, you get a new one, or you do what I use my knives in every because that's what you do. I don't have time. Like when I'm using my knife, I don't have time to let me get my pry bar. No,
I'm satisfaction. Good to have you here, man.
I'm scraping with my knife. I've got 2,000 other ones to take.
You can see cut tests where a polished edge on something that's super sharp, like a Laredo Bowie or something like that, super sharp, bounces off of certain fabrics because it's not biting in. I mean, it's gonna hurt like hell, but without a little bit of tooth, slash is useless. Danzig says, before I head out, I'm not the only one that has titanium I'm not the only one that has a Flytanium arcade.
Oh, okay.
I've been carrying it because it has the shark lock and isn't a DeMarco. Just haven't heard anyone talk about it. Oh, that's a nice knife. I've seen a few people that I
It's
watch.
pretty new though, and
Yeah.
it's got a price tag. So
What is it, like $200 or something?
it's
Paper
I'd
Tiger, good
rather
to
pay.
have you here.
I'd rather pay a lot less. I'm sorry. You know, Flytanium, you're paying for the name. You know, because Flytanium at this point has established itself in the.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, Robert's bringing up what we were just talking about. For self-defense, we need an apex that cuts through cloth, uh, as in a forearm cut against a coat. Yep, fine edge or better,
I wonder what a
fine edge slide
gambeson
off
is. Do you know what a
like
gambeson is?
I don't.
Is it a
But
medieval weapon?
I'm not sure.
I'm
But what's
curious. Yeah.
even worse than that is like loose, like clothes where a blade can get tangled up, you know, in a slash. But what is a gambeson?
Also, remember, there's bones in there. You know, ribs and et cetera, et cetera. You don't want a delicate edge. You know, you want something that has some material behind it still.
So Craig Vincent, I have a few Tucson chef's knives, also in 14C28, and I sent one to Rochambeau last year, and he said it's the sharpest chef's knife he's ever owned. Oh, speaking of Mattisfaction, who is just here, he's been tagging Post Malone for I think 20 days now on Instagram, showing off his Phoenix. Is that what your knife is called, Mattisfaction? I think it's so
wow,
cool.
cool.
I think it's so cool.
Matt. That's amazing.
Well, he hasn't yet gotten a response, but he keeps tagging him.
But apparently you're saying he owns one and he's showed it before. Is that
no? Mattisfaction has a knife with Kaiser that is out. Mattisfaction has designed a really cool knife with Kaiser, and Post Malone I think likes knives, and so
he's trying to get him to buy it.
He's trying to get him to see it and notice it. And
I thought he already had bought one and was bragging that Post Malone owns his knife. So I'm sorry.
No,
yeah, okay.
but he probably, if he knew about it, he'd probably buy it because it's so cool. Phoenix, I'm sorry, and small makers. Yeah, that thing is.
Oh, I think he's saying that he likes small makers. I think that's what he's saying. A padded armor. Oh, okay. Yeah, I know what that is. Yeah.
Have a Knife Day says the gambeson similar to the Akaton padded jacket.
Doublet,
4-point or arming doublet is the padded defensive jacket. Okay. Greg Vincent says Phoenix is awesome. I have one. Go Maddie. I want one. I've been looking at a lot of videos. I've seen Scab using his, going through tires, cutting everything. I love his videos, by the way. You want to see real usage of a knife, like taken to the extreme, but not taken to the destructive extreme, just taken further than I ever use my knives.
Yeah,
and
I like what I was saying, you know, it's not a destruction test, but he uses it the way, like a tool, like the way you'd use a saw or an axe.
Yes. And
I don't know why we
coming
only
from
knives.
Well, right. Well, I mean, I'm a collector. I'm not, I just don't have that use, but I like knowing that the stuff that I have can withstand that. And people like Scab, people like Stasa, who's always testing stuff, like they do a real valuable service to people like me who are very squeamish about doing stuff like that.
I wouldn't too. Yeah, I would. You know? I mean, when I'm using it, but I don't want to ruin my knives. They're doing a service to the community. They have enough viewers.
That's absolutely, man. That's totally right. And then they also expose people to new knives. That's something else that you know, all of our trusted voices do. Jared Neve is always showing off cool. I mean, he must get I know he's constantly acquiring knives, and I'm sure he gets sent a lot, and he's also getting them, and you know, however he gets them, and he's got his shop, he's got his own store and stuff like that, and always exposing people to new knives. I love that.
I'm also pro destruction test as well, though. I mean, that shows something too.
Oh,
you know, by destroying it, it shows what the breaking point really is. I think it's still a data point. You know,
Oh,
I'm
for sure.
not
Like,
anti-destruction tests. You know,
no, no, neither am
that
I.
Joe X was my absolute favorite. He would take he would he would
Yeah.
take pistols and assault rifles to him. You just got to see at what point, and it does show something in the extreme because certain knives become obliterated, certain knives fail. You know, there is a big difference between knives, and he takes it to the ultimate.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Better
Craig
buyer than a
Vincent says,
tester.
"I'm a
I
much better
agree.
buyer than a tester."
Me too. Me too.
I've never been a big fan of Joe X. Not that I'm not a fan of him, but I've just never really watched much of him. And I remember having a visceral like
Mhm.
reaction, like I don't want to see these knives destroyed. But
Oh, I get it. Yeah,
X Ring. Do you know X Ring? He does a lot of. I think he
I'm gonna
works
have
for
to check that out.
Microtech. He does a lot of destruction or very 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 super hard use tests of
Mhm.
Microtech, and that's part of the reason why I'm in this Microtech phase is that these things are built like brick shit houses, and
Mhm.
that is totally apparent from these destruction videos and or super duper hard use videos. It's pretty cool to see where other knives will fail in the process when he's doing kind of similar things to similar knives. Danzig says, if you want to
Right.
cut through material, just get full serrated blade. Couldn't agree with you more, Danzig. I'm really into serrations right now. The cold steels with their full serrations are insane for cutting material. Yeah, I'm thinking of my Talon 2 serrated or my my
Exactly. I have the
uh
Black Talon 2 fully serrated as
Talwar.
well, and it
That
scares
thing is
me.
wicked. Because
That thing scares me.
that is slashing like a recurve and also stabbing with the orientation of the point. Like if you're slashing with that thing, you are stabbing and slashing simultaneously. It's
But being a
terrifying.
hawk bill, yes, it has the benefit of like a recurve having better cutting action. But being a hawk bill, it's grabbing and pulling.
Yeah,
It's just nasty. It's just
grabbing, pulling, and
oh
penetrating.
yeah, yeah. It's a nasty. That was my original self defense blade back when I was carrying cash around, and that was, you know, that's what I carried.
Oh, that thing is brutal. And I think we first saw that shape really on the Spyderco Civilian, but the Civilian is not
Yeah,
nearly as robust at the tip. I think with the cold steel,
right.
I would do all sorts of hard work all day long with that tip if there was a reason to. Whereas you're kind of advised against that with the Spyderco because of the daintiness of that tip. Who knows? Like meant to break off into someone. Oof. That that
Uh,
whole
yeah.
that whole knife, the Civilian, and then the Matriarchs, which came after
Hmm.
it, were first commissioned by the South African government because they were having a spate of rapes in the early
Oh, really?
1990s, and they wanted a knife that anyone could use, without any training, just using kind of caveman motions, and that sort of S
Oh,
curve with the serrations was created.
oh,
Craig
it's genius. Yeah.
Craig Vincent. What did someone say? Cold Steel. He is our resident Cold Steelaholic here.
Oh, okay. I'm a fanboy. I'll be
Oh,
honest. I'm
me
I'm a
too.
Cold Steel fanboy, and the thing is, I didn't start that way. I actually thought it was a lot of gimmick, and I didn't like them. I thought they were awful until I got the Black Talon 2. Then I fell in love. I was like, how do you get such a robust knife to also have such smooth action? I was like,
And
the
very
the quality
thin
you
and
make, yeah, it's astounding how well they get their knives made over there in Taiwan. They really clearly have very strict manufacturing standards that they've
yep.
got these people making them, and it's not a surprise. A lot of people like me as well. I like the Taiwanese Spider Coast more so than even
Yeah.
just the USA made ones. Personally,
Yep. The Demco knives, a lot of them are made in those same factories. Same thing with Ocaso knives, because Rick Valdez, who started Ocaso, used to be an executive at Cold Steel, and he knows all those manufacturers
oh, that
too.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. They
yeah,
have. I saw them at Shot Show. They had a cool notion of the man opener. Oh, great, yeah.
yeah,
Um,
that is.
did you
I
see his
like that
concept
satisfaction.
of the desk knife? I love that.
Oh yeah, very cool.
That's a great idea. A desk knife. I totally agree.
I mean, don't we all have like a bunch of them? Doug Bull says, I've never understood using a knife for a job needed for an axe. It's like using a gas engine for horsepower when the power of a diesel torque is required. I think, Doug, I would venture to say it's the one tool option. Like if you're
Right.
going out into the woods, if you have a big honking Bowie knife or hungless or something like that, you can use this to span or to baton through wood and stuff like that. It's not ideal, of course. It'd be better to have all those things, but if you need to travel light, I think that's the idea. Great Southern Trend Kill, good to have you here. Do you have custom forged blades? Yes, I do.
While you're looking for that, just to address the
On
thing,
the table, though.
I think in the Wild Wild West, the reason why guys started carrying these big giant knives is because they carried on their belt. Almost nobody wants to carry a hatchet on their belt.
Yeah, no.
There might have been some people that did, but when you're roaming around, you might carry one knife.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? And if you needed to do something right then and there, instead of run back and go grab your axe or a hatchet, it's not as efficient. It's not the ideal tool, but if you got to in a pinch, so.
Yeah. Great Southern Trend Kill. I was just thinking about it. I have 2 custom forged knives. I have more than that. But 2 that are especially spectacular. Neither of them. Well, I'm thinking of like custom forge welded, like Damascus fancy pants. I have a lot of custom knives. Many of them are stock removal knives, but I'm thinking about and I don't have them. They're locked up, but I will pull them out. Not next week, because next week there's no Thursday Night Knives. But the week after that, I will have both of them out here, and I'll show them off because they're both beautiful. And I would love to have more of that kind of knife in my collection. Danzig says the closest to the Raja full serrated is the Lynn Thompson edition Spartan. That is cool. I highly recommend it. Yeah, I love the Spartan. And that one is the full flat ground with the serrations as opposed to the hollow ground Aus 8, like the one I have, which works just fine. But it's got that blasted blade, which can rust easily. So I sanded that down so it doesn't rust as much, when it's close to the body. That used to be an EDC in 2010 time frame. I was carrying that knife all the time. Love it. Jim just had the link up for the TheKnifeJunkie.com/shop. Be sure to go over there and check out the t-shirts. He's always got cool t-shirts. Every week we feature a new one on the Wednesday supplemental. I'm sharp just like my knife is this featured t-shirt of the week. Check out the many pages of knife related t-shirts that Jim has concocted in his lab. And check them out. They are cool. I don't know. I've got 8 million. I've got so many t-shirts. It's kind of a gift thing in my family. We get each other cool t-shirts, almost too many of them. I need to go to the TheKnifeJunkie.com/shop and get more, because I need more knife themed t-shirts. I have a lot of other stuff, but everyone knows I love coffee. Everyone knows I'm a father, and you can tell from my t-shirt collection as well. So
your dad shirts.
Yep, they beat dad ties. I don't wear ties that much, so that they're not. Those would be somewhat useless at this point. Any knives that you're excited about coming up here?
Not in particular. No, I mean, I'm kind of I'm more into fixed blades these days. So I've got way too many folding EDC type knives. So.
Yeah, me too. Right before Pete was saying he's had some trouble with serrations going through some materials. Craig Vincent says a lot of no-name gems I've come across seem to come from Taiwan. Interesting, no-name gems. Yeah.
Well, that's what Japan used to be when we were kids.
Yeah,
no-name gems were coming from Japan, and at that time we didn't think they were good. It turns out, in retrospect, they were punching above their weight. So.
Blade Ogre says, thanks again for this great show, Bob and Jim. We'll probably be getting the Baron Sons Bowie from Bucky's tomorrow. Awesome. Night all. Have a great weekend. Chris, have an awesome weekend, and be safe out there. Robert Von Dar says Bowie knives replaced swords when firearms made them obsolete. I consider Bowie's the frontier cutlass. Oh yeah,
it's interesting. Yeah, interesting point.
Jalico says that's sort of like how the Navaja replaced the sword in Spain, years before.
Right.
Jalico says the 4MAX is as heavy as my camp hatchet and has many more uses. That's pretty fun.
I love the 4MAX. It's one of my absolute favorite knives.
That is a good one. What do you think of the 5MAX?
It might be my one knife. I don't know. I mean, I haven't handled it, but why not?
Me neither.
5 is one better than 4, right?
Pete Davidson says the teeth dig in and drag material rather than cut into them.
Yeah, if you're trying to make fine, precise stuff on thin material, then yeah.
Some of the best knives I own are Seki made.
See?
Yeah, from the 80s and 90s. Yeah, no kidding. Seki City.
That's how Korea got great at manufacturing. That during the 80s and 90s, when Sony was putting, and all those companies were putting out radios and all the electronics, they were making them at LG and Samsung, and then stamping their logo on it. And then later on, they were like, wait, we're making all these electronics. Why don't we just use our own name? And then we came to know after the fact, oh, hey, Korea is good at manufacturing. So that it's just always like 10 years later that you find out the people that were making your stuff for very cheap was actually really good.
Yeah. Have a Knife Day says, as it was written, the Bowie knife is the American Excalibur. Yeah. I'll buy that for that's pretty cool. Thomas Farkas says, Bob and Jim, great show. Keep up the great work. Good night, my friends, and always carry a knife. You're preaching to the choir, Thomas, but I concur. Always carry a knife, or two at least. Danzig says, I have a Tora Blades kukri that I use when I'm in the swamps, and it makes a really nice do-it-all blade. Be careful in those swamps, Danzig. Lots of
alligators and
lots of critters out there.
Thanks. I've seen some crazy stuff. People trying to retrieve a phone and suddenly an alligator comes out, and I'm good. Oh,
alligators, snakes, swamp apes, mosquitoes, all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I think that's just about gonna do it for me here tonight. Be sure to join us on Sunday for Carter with Edged Mindset. Oh, I mentioned that before, as if the show was playing, as if you'd already seen the interview, which you hadn't. But I have a great interview with him. He was Juju 1313 for years, and then Pew Pew channel, and he did some other stuff. But Edged Mindset, he's awesome, and it has an incredible collection. Be sure to join us on Sunday for that, and then Wednesday for the midweek supplement. We're not doing one this week. That's right. I'm taking the week off for Easter. All right. For Jim working his magic behind the switcher, I'm Bob DeMarco saying, until next time, which is 2 Thursdays hence, don't take dull for an answer.